Hello and welcome to Dad Got This, where we answer the tough questions like, did I completely replace my Starbucks addiction with my Ninja Luxe Cafe? And why did the coffee get fired? That second one's easy, because it was always latte. Quick note before we start the video, a long time ago, Ninja sent me this. I didn't have to pay for it. I don't have to send it back. Factor that in however you like. If you follow the channel, you may have seen my first video where I unboxed it and made a little bit of coffee and kind of learned my way around the Ninja Luxe Cafe. Well, this is an update. I've been living with it for a while, and here are my favorite drinks, tips, tricks, things you need to buy, things you don't need to buy for the Ninja Luxe Cafe. When I first got the Ninja Luxe Cafe, I had not made real espresso at home basically ever. I'd used a Mocha pot, an AeroPress, and tried to make facsimiles of really strong coffee, but they weren't espresso. So I kind of got a little bit into it, started obsessing over the pours and the times and the speeds. So I bought this cool little coffee scale. It's really neat. It's pretty accurate, down to like the little point ounces. It'll tell you how much your pour is, and you can even set a timer on it so that as soon as a drip of liquid hits the scale, it starts the timer and it'll tell you how long your pour took. This is a great way if you are really nerdy and really obsessive about dialing in your machine to the ground and the tamping and all that kind of stuff to get like the exact espresso you are looking for. These scales come in really handy. I used it for a little while when I was kind of getting my way around and deciding how I wanted to brew coffee, but I don't really use it anymore. So unless you are going to go super nerdy with your coffee, you can probably skip buying one of these little digital scales. The next thing I bought was this. It is a little needle. It is a bunch of needles actually. After you grind your coffee, you take this and you kind of stir the coffee with it. It breaks up any big clumps. It is supposed to get you a better pour and extraction. I guess I don't have the greatest coffee palate, and that's kind of what we're gonna get to here. I can't tell the difference when I do and do not use this in the coffee. I just can't. So I don't know if you need this. If you have a super fine palate and you drink your espresso straight, nothing in it, then maybe it's worth investing in something like this and taking that extra step. But for me, my everyday morning coffee, I don't use it. Speaking of things I don't use, a puck filter. This, after you grind and tamp, goes on top, and it is also supposed to improve your extraction and pour a better cup of coffee. Once again, personally, I can't tell the difference when I use and don't use this. This is specifically made for the size of the portafilter in the Ninja Luxe Cafe. I will link down to all of these below if you do want to pick them up and you want to see if you can tell the difference. Please, you can go ahead and buy them. But for me, I stopped using it. I just don't use it anymore. Something I do use, and I'm very happy I have now, is a Knockbox. This is a pretty inexpensive one. It has this little piece here that goes here, and then you just take your portafilter, bang it on there, the espresso comes right out in a puck like that. And then I take them and I go ahead and I make compost with them. We have a little compost machine and they go into my compost. But wonderful, you need a Knockbox if you are going to constantly use this machine. It is pretty much the only way to get those little things out without being a pain in the butt. Love this thing. And then some of the other things I bought are a bar mat that goes underneath my machine. This just helps with any kind of spills or anything. I haven't had any tray overflows. I do empty it regularly, so that hasn't been a problem. But just in case, it is nice to have. Let's make some coffee. Let's start with my morning cup of coffee. This is called an Espresso Romano.
For this, we're just gonna brew a double shot of espresso. Grab your portafilter, go ahead and put it in the grinder, and follow the recommended settings for your beans. And grind.
This uses the standard basket. Honestly, I don't use the quad basket at all. If I want a double shot, I will just brew 2 shots using the regular basket. I just like the taste a little bit better. I can taste the difference between a quad shot and that, and you have to dial it in. You gotta make all kinds of changes, and I just don't brew the quads as often as I brew a single shot. So if I need to, I just make 2. It's just a lot easier than going ahead and making changes. Now that we have our espresso, I will demonstrate what the little needle does. So you take your needle, go in here, and you just that's it. Supposed to break up any big chunks, make it a little bit better. My tamping procedure is as follows. I tap to try and just kind of level it a little bit. My tamp goes on, I press once, I spin it, I press again, and then I go like this. Take my finger, get any excess off the top, and that gives me a pretty clean portafilter without much dust at all. Pretty clean, nice, ready to go. If you're going to make coffee, you need something to drink coffee in. So I bought these little espresso mugs. They are big enough for a quad shot. They come with a little saucer if you would like to be fancy, and they weren't too expensive. They store in this nice little thing that I can keep next to my espresso machine, and it's like a nice simple package. They're dishwasher safe. I love these things. What is an espresso Romano? It's something that my Italian uncle used to drink all the time. It is the way he got his espresso. And it is basically a shot of espresso with a lemon rind in it. The acidity of the lemon rind kind of adds a little bit of punch to the coffee, makes it really good. Cuts bitterness if there is any. I love it. Now, you can have it with or without sugar. I add a little sugar. This could be why I can't taste the difference in a lot of these little fancy tweaks, because I put a little sugar in there. All right, these are lemon rinds. I peel the lemons and I freeze them because I drink this so often. Doing it fresh is just a pain in the butt. Yes, they are frozen and they are cold when they go in the coffee. It's not as good as doing it fresh, but it works for me. If you want it 100% the best way possible, slice it off it. You want to try to make sure you don't get any of the white. You just want to get the yellow of the lemon rind. Into your cup. Brew an espresso. Lock it in.
My actual brew time from when I hit the button to when I actually get coffee is about a minute.
I get a pretty good crema on mine. No coffee showing through. It's all just crema. If you tip it, there's no coffee shows through. It's a pretty good cup. To finish it off, I like the raw sugar, like a teaspoon of raw sugar. If you are less of a child than I am, you can skip the sugar or put less. And this, my friends, is an Espresso Romano. Love it. It's just a good cup of coffee. Then I just take my portafilter right over here, little pop, comes out clean. If I'm making another cup, I literally just grab a paper towel, wipe this out, and move on. Ready to go for drink number 2. As far as beans go, I am using the Ely Classic Espresso Roast. They are kind of like a medium darkness, not too dark, not too light, and I like the flavor. Plus, I have a hookup and I can get them at a pretty good price. With those beans, my machine settles in around a 10 to an 11. I just kind of keep it on 10, and if it tells me to bump it to 11, I ignore it, and everything seems to be fine. As long as I stay in that range and I don't switch out my beans, I don't have a lot of issues with the machine and getting it dialed in. I have tried other beans and they range from 10 to the highest it's ever asked me to do is like a 15, but I kind of like just sticking with the same bean. It makes my life easy. I like the taste of it. I'm a basic guy. Now, when my wife wants a fancy coffee, this is what I make her. I make a capo latte. I don't know if it's a cappuccino or a latte, but it's what I make. So, I use these nice big cups. I also got these on Amazon. They are also dishwasher safe. They work really well, they stack, and they look nice. So, I use these cups for my capo latte.
Same process as before. Brew yourself a shot of espresso.
Here's a tip. If your portafilter is ever stuck or kind of hard to move, as the machine heats up, it gets a lot easier. One way to make sure that it's always easy to use is just first thing when you turn it on, just run a brew. Don't do any grind, don't do anything. Just run a brew through it blank. It'll run water through it, it'll heat it up, it'll come out a lot easier, and it'll go back in easier. As you can see, we have espresso. We have a TJ Maxx by us. TJ Maxx always has these and they're like $7. So that's where I go to get all my syrups. This is the salted caramel version. Unfortunately, they don't always have the flavor you want. You just gotta kind of get what they get, which gives you some variety though. So for the wife, she doesn't like her coffee too sweet. So we put 1 tablespoon of the salted caramel syrup. We like whole milk. It seems to froth better. I take it and I fill it to that max line, which is the latte line. This one right here. Over to the machine. In there. I'm using the dairy setting and the frothiest version, not cold froth. Start froth. I use a wet, damp paper towel, and I just clean it well. And it definitely makes some frothy milk, really nice and frothy. Now, I am the worst person at latte art. They range from Jackson Pollock to slightly recognizable items, but I will try to pour some latte art. Here's what I have found for attempting latte art with the milk that you get from the Ninja Luxe Cafe. You want to go ahead and give it a little tap on the table, that'll get some bubbles out, and you want to go ahead and do this. You want to spin the junk out of it and get it nice and mixed up. You want to kind of knock a lot of that foam off that you just went and created and just kind of really kind of get it going like that. It's going to look a lot less foamy, something like that. Let's try to pour a latte. Okay, so your coffee, you want to kind of swirl it to try to get rid of some of the brown on the top. That's your first step. Your milk should be frothy, but knocked down a little bit. So just kind of keep swirling it like this. And then you're going to take your coffee, which you swirl in the other hand. And then you want to go quick. That's the trick. The first pour is supposed to be very quick so that you don't get a lot of foam. And then you go close. And then like that. Now you have made the worst latte art in the world. I told you I'm bad at this. One time I got something that looked pretty good. Looked like this. That was the best one I've ever done. And none have ever been good after that. I'm pretty terrible at it, but I don't do them that often because I only make them for the wife and I don't drink these, so I don't make them every day. What we have here is a salted caramel latte. It's pretty tasty. Just not my bag of tea. Coffee, cup, thing. For our next drink, we are going to make an iced caramel macchiato, which is basically a shot of espresso with milk, and it actually has vanilla syrup with a caramel drizzle. It's not caramel syrup. Sometimes I just make it with the caramel syrup, but we'll make it a little bit more traditional. We need a shot of espresso. And because I want it to be a little fancy, I bought these on Amazon. They're like little glass tumblers. They have a lid with a metal straw. Makes it a little fancy. Take this. I lied. I'm not gonna make the traditional one. I'm gonna make the one that I like to drink. For that, instead of just pouring regular milk in there, we are going to cold steam or cold froth our milk. We're gonna go 5 ounces of milk. We're gonna pour about a tablespoon of our salted caramel syrup in there. And now we're gonna cold foam this. Just flip it over once to cold foam and hit start. What this is doing is basically just whipping the milk using that little magnetic attachment at the bottom. It's not using any steam. So you get like a foamy milk without heat. Wipe your milk off. And then I just pour in some ice. Caramel syrup. To be fancy, I try to get it along the edge of the glass a little, and a little bit over the ice cubes. And then I just pour my nice cold foam a little bit more drizzle on top to be fancy. And there you go. This is my salted caramel macchiato froth thing. I don't know. This is the iced coffee that I like to drink. And then you just kind of want to give it a little stir before you drink it. It's not as pretty, but tastes better when you do that. Just a nice little sweet treat for the day. Drink number 3. Let's say if somebody who doesn't like espresso, but you don't want to use your regular coffee maker, you just want to make 1 cup of coffee. It's really simple. For the straight brewed coffee, you're going to want to grab your Lux basket and just pop it right in there. Now we're going to make a couple changes on the machine and grind some coffee. You're going to take this knob, you're going to turn it till that says classic. We do a 12 ounce. You could do all different kinds of sizes. Now, as you can see, our grind needs to go all the way up to 24. Pop your funnel on like you normally would and put it in the machine. Do not change your grind setting without it in the machine. I've noticed it can be really hard to turn if it's not in there. I think it needs to kind of be in there for it to really make the adjustments. I always make my adjustments with my portafilter installed in the grinder. 1, 2, 3, 24. Boom. At this point, you can take your funnel off and you don't tamp this. This is just like it is. And you'll notice this is a very different grind than our espresso looked like. Now we just brew a cup of coffee. Install your portafilter. Yourself a nice big cup. Brew.
This is sped up quite a bit for the video. In fact, it takes about 3 minutes to brew 1 cup of coffee.
After that, what you end up with is a rather dark and roasty cup of coffee. Now, I didn't even switch my beans. I just left the espresso beans in there. If you wanted to switch the beans, you could. But for this, I just leave them in. Coffee. It's a good coffee. I don't understand why people say it's bad at making regular drip coffee. I might have a bad coffee palate, but this tastes like a fine cup of coffee to me. Me, I'd put a little sugar in it, but that's just me. And there you go. These 4 drinks have absolutely replaced any kind of need to go to Starbucks or any other cafe for me and the whole family. At this point, I could walk into a Starbucks and be like, I'm the barista now. As far as for care, cleaning, and maintenance, once a month, I run the little cleaning tablet through it. That's about it. Other than that, I just kind of wipe it down as needed. I clean the portafilter every day, a little soapy water after I'm done making all my drinks. The grinder, once a month, I will go ahead and just take apart, empty out all the beans, brush out the burrs and everything a little bit, wipe down the inside of the bin, and then refill the beans. That's it. Super, super simple. So far, I absolutely love this machine. Makes all the coffee I would ever want and more. So if you have any other questions about it, please let me know in the comments down below. I will try to answer them. Maybe it'll spur a future video. If you have a favorite coffee recipe that you like, that you think I should try, leave that as a comment also. Please do the likey subscribe thing. YouTube loves it when you leave a like. I love it when you leave a comment. I answer just about every comment in my comment section. If you really want to support the channel, consider becoming a member. Members get 24-hour early access to videos, shout outs, producer credits, all kinds of fun stuff. But if you can't, subscribing would be enough. And with all that out of the way, there's only one question left to answer. Why did the hipster burn their tongue? Because they drank their coffee before it was cool. Yeah, pretty bad. Dad may tell horrible dad jokes. Make amazing coffees. But one thing Dad will never do is an outro. So that's it. Bye. Now I have to drink all this coffee and not sleep for 3 days.
This is the part where I thank all of my members. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you so much for your support, and rock on. I don't know why I said rock on, but rock on.
Nice.